We're the elite. You asked for us, world. Now you got us.
Creating the elite, I started to approach it the same way I would any group, even though originally I didn't know if they were going to last past the one issue. The idea was to do a book where a group of heroes that had very good intentions were going down darker paths, and sort of how long could they hold on to their more noble aspirations without getting dirty.
Easy, Manchester.
Not chatty? Fine.
Their face to the world is, hey, look, we're your new heroes, and then, look, they all have their issues and they've got big flaws.
Thanks for the assist. Next time, double check for collateral damage. Came a little close there.
And this is certainly also taking from the characters that they were inspired by in books like The Authority, you know, where it's like, you've got these characters who are deeply flawed and not the nicest people to be around, even if they say they're doing good for you. To have a group of villains that came from all different backgrounds is certainly appealing to me. I think it's important to have multicultural characters in comics. For so long, there was a psychology going on that you could not have an African-American villain, because then you were demonizing all African-Americans. And you get into this political correctness zone where you can never have anybody be bad except the white guy. And we wanted to have a more diverse palette for the characters. Manchester's origins are all based on, like, I want to pick somebody who's sort of opposite of Superman, but also as powerful. So his having telepathic powers and telekinetic powers as opposed to physical powers, like Superman, kind of represents for me, okay, I was a guy who was picked on, so in my head, you know, I look at the people who were abusing me and I wish you would die, and then one day they finally did. I mean, this is, I think, a pretty relatable, you know, dark fantasy that a lot of people have. So Manchester is that guy. Manchester's upbringing is very dark. He comes from an abusive home where there's just him and his sister.
I'm off then. See you at dinner.
Lucky I give you a roof and a pillow, you worthless squib.
His sister is a bit of a source of hope and light for him. She's put into a position where she has to work in a sweatshop, and she loses her arms in an industrial accident, and that snaps Manchester. That's when his powers unleash, and that's when he starts executing, you know, bloody revenge on anybody who's near him, whoever hurt him, whoever did anything to him. I mean, he starts to explore what those powers mean and what they'll allow him to do.
Manchester Black, aspiring do-gooder and all-around pain in the ass at your service.
I also wanted him to be charismatic and funny.
No witty at all? Oh, wait. You're in the middle of a seizure. Sorry, mate.
Have just no regard for sensitivity or political correctness.
Bottom line is that the war of jackholes was just going to escalate until this dung heap of a region was turned to glass. No offense.
In the comics and in the film too, there were jokes that we had to pull back on because they were even pushing it a little bit too far.
Who's a good sorcerer? Double pork fried rice for you tonight.
Yeah, he was just, you know, complete smartass. Took no crap from anybody and would say what was on his mind and kill you as soon as look at you.
Good night, ladies.
After Manchester and Superman meet in 775, Superman sort of finds the center of the power in his brain and uses a little X-ray heat vision microsurgery to essentially paralyze that sort of bit that gives him his power. Then he decides to make another go at Superman. He can't get over this idea that Superman is as wholesome and as pure as he seems to be. Because if Superman's that pure, it means he's really that evil. He starts throwing all of these villains at Superman. And it's a ruse to get him far enough away from Lois so that when he returns to Metropolis, she's dead. But he did not kill Lois because he had hoped that he would kill him, and then when the illusion broke, realized that he had killed a man under false pretenses. And he thought that was really going to be his screw you to Superman. But it didn't happen. So he just sort of goes off into the world and essentially commits suicide as a result of that event. When he decides it's time he's going to end his own life, he basically turns his own power against him. He sort of literally makes his hand like a gun and telekinetically shoots himself in the head. Both Vera and Manchester Black are brought up by the government. When she was given her powers and they replace her arms with this incredible technology, it makes all these weapons. But really, more of her sort of abilities come from how she can work with other people and persuade them to follow her, and this sort of unfaltering willingness to get as dirty as possible or as necessary to solve the problem. She chose to break away and try to use her power for the greater good, whereas Manchester was on a much darker path, and he broke away certainly to fulfill his own agenda. He felt that what they were doing was too small in this government group. Vera just felt that they were wrong, and it was better to do it on her own. Menagerie was roped into an experiment where an alien life form had sort of been found and needed a human host. And so she became part of that experiment.
They grown big here, but not as big as Blue Boy.
Once it bonds with her, it allows her to use them as weapons, essentially. So they're living off of her just like any parasite would, but she, in turn, can command them and send them off and have them do things. So that's how she's able to sprout wings and claws, and her identity sort of gets a little lost and muddied as a course of, being bonded with this thing. That when she finally has enough and wants to sort of be separated from it, she loses her mind as a result of that process because they become too intertwined. And I guess this sort of little underlying morality tale there was just that she took a sort of ill-gained power and abused it, and when she didn't want it anymore, lost herself too. She was left a vegetable as a result of disassociating from the creature. I really like Coldcast. As a character, I wanted to provide a foil against Manchester.
And I hate to hear my own voice, believe it or not.
Don't believe it. Only thing shuts him up is a soccer game.
He's sort of the most responsible of the elite, and he was sort of serious.
Chester, he killed Pam in the hat. Get with it!
I wanted to take the sort of angry black man stereotype and push it, and have him be aware that he was pushing it. That's why he wears chains. Like, he's very clearly embracing and wearing on his sleeve this cultural identity. Much like Manchester, Coldcast's powers are triggered by an emotional moment. I just tend to like that more in characters, and the sort of analogy to our emotional roller coaster that we're on as our bodies change and all that kind of business, that's a comic trope that's been around for a long time. Coldcast is an energy manipulator. I really like the idea of somebody who could do a biological EMP. Trying to come up with characters that can hurt Superman, this is what people have been doing for 75 years now, and you have to try to come up with new ways to do it. The Hat is, he's a train wreck. The Hat messed around with magic and became possessed by this demon, and the demon is just about earthly pleasure. So the Hat spends a lot of time drunk.
Makes me thirsty.
Again, looking for ways to wound Superman, one of the ones that's sort of been established that really hasn't been messed with is that magic can hurt Superman.
Wait for it, kids.
I don't know who the first person was to come up with it, but it certainly became a big relief to any writers who came after, who were like, gosh, how am I going to hurt this guy this much?
Hang tight! Everyone knows Superman can't do magic!
I love Japanese manga, I love anime, I love the mythology that's involved in their storytelling. So I thought it'd be really cool to try to integrate that with a magician.
Oh, Hat. Every time we win a battle, he gets knackered and pukes all over the place.
He just wants to wreck things and drink and sleep and eat, and he's just horrible.
I really have to sober up now. What the hell is happening?
He's got no connection to humanity whatsoever. He really could care less. And, you know, obviously a character like that is fun to write, as horrible as they are. In the story where the Justice League elite is proposed, something is coming to Earth that the Justice League is not equipped to handle. Vera knows this and basically approaches the JLA saying, if you don't go along with this plan, you know, this is going to mean the end of the world. Superman does trust her, and so as a result, they do successfully save the world from this threat. And then afterwards, she says, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we could do together, but Superman wants no part of it. But then sort of surprisingly, there are members of the Justice League who say, hey, you know, she kind of did right by us. We're interested in what she has to say. And that schism ultimately created the JLA and the Justice League elite. The Elite was a much darker book. You know, like as I've said many times, I like dark books, and I like books where the characters have all sorts of personal problems, and that was what the Elite was all about. Vera was the head of that team, and she invariably sort of attracted a lot of fractured and broken people like herself. And later on, certainly into Justice League Elite, those problems had to be more thoroughly explored, and that's what we got to do in Justice League Elite. With the Elite, in their initial conception, I really never expected that they were going to come back. So to play Manchester as a not particularly closeted racist, or the Hat as a drunk, or it's an implication that Menagerie has slept with everybody.
He might have the stones to do me.
Pam, I'm handing out ultimatums. Please keep it in your pants.
I got to sort of have fun and play these guys as ridiculous as I wanted to, without any real consequence.
It's funny, isn't it? A life of truth, justice in the American military capitalist way. And in the end, you die on the moon wondering if your bowels will let go.
But I like that stuff.
Ta, mate.